How you doing this evening?
All right, I'm trying to figure out like what's going on with my internet here, but okay, nope, that's not working right there. But
That's what we love
we're gonna
about
get it
technology.
going, huh?
That's what we love about technology. You cannot count on it.
Okay, there it is. And for some odd reason, it is just acting kind of funky right here. I don't know why. I'm trying to go to my, I'm trying to go with my Facebook Live here, and it's anyway, it's acting strange. But we're live. This is the original Coach Carter, Charles Morris, where we come to you every Wednesday at 11 p.m. right here at www.youthcentralsports.com. Also, Twitter, Periscope, Facebook, and that's what we do here every Wednesday. So, how you doing, Coach? I mean,
Doing
oh,
really
oh, I
good.
mean, you know, you have my favorite color on blue, right?
Yes, yes. One of my favorites. Definitely one
Yeah,
of my favorites too. Uh, Definitely one of my favorite colors. Just excited right now. Going in almost 2 weeks of school completed. First home football game is this Friday. First prep rally is this Friday. Basketball conditioning is going on right now. So I'm in a happy place right now.
right. Okay. All right. Well, you all set and everything's good with school and everything else, right?
Yeah, we're getting into our groove now. We're getting into our groove. Has some changes there as well, some new kids and change some personnel, but we're kind of hitting our. I think we're hitting our stride now. We're getting settled in and working on it. Getting that routine down as best we can. So that's exciting when you kind of get that settled in and you kind of know what you're facing. So, and coming into week two completion of school, that's exciting as well. So rolling right along right now.
Okay. Well, you know, there's a lot of things that's been going on in sports, and there's a lot of things that we can talk about. Oh, you know, right off the bat, did you see, you know, in tennis where I guess, because you know, the Serena had a little problem with, I guess, one of the umpires. Did you see where he will not be having anything to do with any of the Williams sisters with the upcoming tournament? Did you see that?
I did not see the final outcome of that, but I knew that there was some discussion there about that. They felt that, and particularly Serena felt that she had been treated, not treated with respect or inappropriately, or felt slighted, if you will. And I was interested to see where that would go. And to my surprise, this has come about. So then I know she had some physical issues, some back issues as well. But
Right.
that's interesting to see that that decision came about. I'm kind of surprised.
Yeah, I am too. But I guess, and I don't know if you remember that when it happened, where she had the little you know controversy with the umpire. And
Had a couple, and I think this particular one. I think I was watching that, or I got a chance to see it on a replay where they really got into an altercation, and I think she felt disrespected more than anything else. Is the kind of the way I looked at it, and that she may have felt a bit disrespected, and I do think she deserves some respect, a lot of respect for what she brought to the game. But just as a player on the court, you got a right to ask the question. I mean, then the exchange after that may have been a little bit because she did come back and apologize a little bit, but there was she. I think she got a thought across.
right, yeah. Well, there's so much that's been going on in sports. Uh, oh, you know, as far as you know, there's a big weekend coming up here in Orlando, which I find kind of odd. The fact that that Miami is playing Florida here in Orlando. Did you know that they were playing in Orlando?
I I knew they had. I think didn't they do? Did they sign a home and home? I thought that was a home and home that they had, but I'm surprised they would do it in Orlando. Although Camp World was it Camping World Stadium is is very capable of handling that
Right.
kind of crowd. The city can handle it. They got enough hotel rooms and stuff like that. But I'm just surprised that they brought it there. Um, Maybe that's certainly not a halfway mark for either one of them, but uh, kudos to the Orlando group for getting such a big event brought to the area.
Yeah, I think I said it 2 weeks ago. I think it was kind of different this year that they were playing each other so early in the season.
Hmm.
It's when they, because that used to be a regular game and then they stopped and then they started it back. But they normally don't play that game so early in the season. But I guess because it's a kickoff game here in Orlando, I guess that's why it's part of that whole, I guess, new.
Well, yeah, great way to kick the season off too with a game like that, and then to bring it to the area. And then they'll see the All Star game, NBA. Was it the NBA? Well, no, was it NBA this coming? No, I'm sorry, football. National
Right.
Football League's All Star game will come back to Orlando, which I think is great. I think it's a great. I think Orlando's done a great job of getting itself involved and getting some. That's one of the things they talked about when they were talking about expanding, spending all that money to expand the stadium, that they would be able to attract those kinds of events. And so thus far, they've done a pretty good job.
Yeah.
Not to mention the concerts they've gotten, but I think getting the NBA, getting the NFL there, and then being able to get college football into that stadium, that's pretty darn good.
Yeah, now, I don't know if you know this, but UCF, I think, is scheduled to play FAMU. I think that's going to be on a Thursday night. Did you hear anything about that?
No, they had attempted to do that a couple of years ago, and in fact, that's not the first time they played each other, is it?
No. Well,
No, I was going to say, I think they played each other or attempted to play once before, and I think it's a good effort. Again, getting those guys to getting all the football teams in the state on each other's field, I think is a positive for the state. It just helps the game, exposes the game. Smaller market, bigger market. Good team is a good team. A competitive team is a competitive team. So I like it. And division wise, however you want to break it down, I think it's a great effort. That could be a good game. I don't. FAMU to me last year, football wise, kind of struggled. And UCF, I thought had a decent year, very very good year. So it'll be interesting to see
well,
how well they.
check, but check this out, Vince. UCF is favored by 45 points.
Yeah, well, UCF has been now. Look at what they had in the last couple of years. I mean, and FAMU has not had that good of a season the last couple of years. They've struggled with Bethune-Cookman University, which is their arch rival, and so now they'll have two big games that they'll have to prepare for, and not to mention they played University of Miami and they got blown out down there. So it's great for the program, but you got to take your knocks around. You're gonna have to get knocked
Well,
around.
well, that part on, but I just think that it's interesting that they would be favored by that much. I mean, I'm looking for UCF to win the game, but I didn't. I just thought I didn't know that they would be favored by 45 points. But
I'm not.
according to the guys on the radio, what I heard that they're favored by 45.
I wouldn't. It wouldn't surprise me because you're looking at history of the program, quality of the program, where they currently sit, previous records. If you put all that into play, I don't know if 45 is a number, but they definitely have the ability now from a talent wise. They're getting a different kind of athlete. But in the coaching, I mean, it's just so many dynamics that go into it, but it should make for an interesting game and one heck of a halftime performance, in my opinion. So it'll be interesting to see. It'll be good for
It,
the area. Another big game.
but guess what? The band is not traveling with them for this game. Like, what's up with that?
Interesting. It could be scheduling too. I'm kind of surprised they're not coming down. I'm really shocked by that. That's surprising
Yeah.
because I would have thought for sure they would have come down. I wonder. I mean, I'd be curious to know why they didn't make that trip, unless they
Yeah.
got some other commitment. And they may have another commitment.
Well,
They
I
may
don't
they
know.
may
I
have another.
mean, that's kind of odd.
Seems that way, but again, when you look into it again, they could be committed for an outside event on that weekend because this. from the best of my knowledge, this just came about. So they may not have planned it for me from for last year,
Right.
but I'm still surprised they're not there. I'm really surprised they're not there. It'll make for well, either way, it's going to be interesting, depending upon what side of the field you're sitting on.
You know, looking at the rankings, are you surprised that Alabama is not one?
No, not really. Alabama, Clemson, 1, 2, and toss up, put them where you want to put them. I don't think it makes a difference. I think it's more of an emotional decision. They're looking at recruitment, looking at whatever they look at to come up with and vote their decision. I'm not too surprised. If they were like fourth or something like that, I'd be shocked. But 1, 2, nah, I'm okay with that. For me personally, it's not a shocker.
I, you know what? I'm gonna make and I don't know why. I just got a feeling. I don't know why, and it probably won't happen. But I got a feeling that Georgia is gonna beat Alabama this year. I don't know why. I just got a feeling.
Well, we get a.
Nah.
I'm not sure I can buy that one, but hey, anything is possible. Um, anything can happen, as you very well know, and we'll get our first glimpse of what that looks like this weekend when they start putting that ball on the field. And if you kind of go by what you see, I think that's going to answer some questions, or hype it up. Either way, one of the two.
Okay. Well, they were talking about they were looking for what's is it Hurt, the one who transferred to Oklahoma from
Yeah.
Alabama that is
Hmm.
now in Oklahoma. Is it Hurt, right? Is it Hurt? That's his last name.
Hurt. Yeah.
They were saying that he's looking good and that his style of play fits him at Oklahoma more so than it did at Alabama. So they said he's looking good. They're also saying that Ohio State is still looking good, but also they were talking about whether or not Michigan will finally beat Ohio State, because you know that between Ohio State and Michigan and Ohio State and Michigan State, you know that's like some of the biggest rivalry. I mean, coaches get fired when they just lose those rivalry games, you know. So Harbaugh is I don't think he's beaten Ohio State since he's been there, but they were saying that Georgia looks good, Oklahoma looks good. What can compared to going up against Alabama, is a good chance that they will make the playoffs.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that's as I always say, that's just somebody's opinion. Looking at analytics, putting numbers together, looking at previous records, recruitment, seniors returning, and so on and so injury reports, so on and so forth. It doesn't make a difference until they kick that ball on Saturday, and then we'll find out exactly because you need to see these teams play and play competitively against within their divisions or in their conferences and against these rival teams. That's when I think when you really can come back with a solid prediction or a better prediction. Because right now on this preseason stuff, they, in my opinion, I don't take them seriously because they're just guessing. I can guess.
Right.
And I can look at some of the same analytics and come up with it. And I have appreciation for their ability to discern that material, but for me, it's not real until they kick the ball off. And we actually see them get out there and do it on the field. Then I may be able to be more invested in what they're saying. Because right now, I'm not listening to them. I'm saying, I don't believe you, because everybody on paper look real. Right now, everybody's 0-0. So I agree with them, but come Saturday, we're gonna have some changes.
Well, it, well, this coming Saturday, I mean, let me see what they were saying. Somebody is coming, and I was trying to think who it was. This somebody coming to play Florida, and it's one of the top teams. And I don't forgot which of the top teams that that they were talking about. And they were saying because they're coming early in this month, and it's an early game in the sense of they're going to be playing in the heat. So it looked like the advantage. And I don't forget what team or whether or not it's Florida or Florida State, but I'm going to have to look that up. And they were kind of favorite, but even though I think it's like one of the whichever team is like in the top six. So I got to look at the schedule and see. You know what? Let me see if I can look it up real quick. But they were saying that the team is traveling, and it might be Nebraska or it might be Oklahoma coming because they were saying they have to travel cross country. They come into Florida. They're not used to the weather or that heat playing this time of year. So let me see who Florida or Florida State is playing in the next week or so, and then I ask you about that game. Um, while I do that, Josh Gordon has been reinstated. We've went in depth of talking about him, not necessarily the football, but hoping that he would get the help that is needed for him to just live a regular life, and then maybe he can focus on football. But and no one knows. But what you think about the reinstatement of Josh Gordon?
Well, I think for me personally, in my opinion, I think it's a good thing for him if he can manage it. And at this point, you'd have to think that the league is satisfied with his ability to keep himself together or met their requirements for reinstatement. And now the challenge will be his day-to-day effort to maintain that and go out and compete at his job and his personal life, which I'm hoping he's able to balance. It's a very delicate balance, and it's not easy. And the fact that he is recovering, if you will, or met those requirements to get back is just part of the challenge that he has. He's still got to go through it day to day. And for that, I hope he's able to get done. He's got a good support staff around him. I hope that can allow him to get back and compete on his job and then live his life out in a manner that's conducive for his success.
Well, um, real quick, I'm going to ask you about that, but I'm looking at Florida, so it's not Florida because I'm looking at the schedule. So whoever I'm talking about, it's not Florida. It might be Florida State. So let me go to Florida State. How how much better do you think the Patriots are going to be if he's on the field?
Well, it's another experienced player on the field. I'm not buying the Patriots being. Everybody's saying they're going for, I think it's seventh championship. I thought they got in last year, and I said this to my Patriot friends. One thing you didn't want to do is let them back their way in. They backed their way in, and then they got a solid footing, and they pulled off a six. I'm still not buying that they're going to be that successful again this year. But it always helps to have your veterans on the field, and that definitely gives them an advantage of having a veteran on the field, another experienced player. So it definitely raises their ability to compete. And again, a Patriots is the kind of team that you want to keep. You don't want them to be at their best because they found a way to win. And when you let them get their pieces like that, you really make it difficult. So I definitely think he's going to have an impact. Super Bowl impact, I don't know about that. I don't
Okay.
think so.
Right. Real quick, let me go back to the game. It's funny because I mean, it it popped in my head when they were talking about it. I mean, it came right back to me. It's UCF that they were talking about because the conversation that they were having was because of the run that they've had over the last 2 years, and so where
Hmm.
are they now in reference to being in the top 20 or the top 25? And so they were saying that early on because Stanford, which is known to have Stanford
Hmm.
plays very good ball. I see that they're ranked 25. They were saying that uh, UCF probably would have a good chance of beating them for the fact that they're traveling cross country. They're coming to play on the 14th of next month, while it's still hot here. And actually that game is at 3:30 p.m. So that game is when it's hot, and it's probably going to be close to 90 degrees then. So it's the UCF Stanford game, and that's the
Well,
third game of the season. And that game against FAMU is on the 29th. That is a Thursday night game. And they were also talking about the following week after Stanford, they're going to play Pittsburgh, and Pittsburgh usually, very, very competitive team.
Well, you look at Stanford coming out of California. I mean, they're going to they've seen some heat. They haven't seen Florida heat, but they're going to be ready for that. I mean, they're going to compete. The conditioning is going to be the key factor. That humidity when it gets next to them, how well are they going to perform? You definitely got to give an edge to UCF on that. I think looking at their previous track record, I have not heard about. I saw a little bit about their recruitment for football this year and what their early practices have looked like. So it could be good. And I think it's great for the area. You get some really good football coming in. They've elevated themselves to a level of being able to compete at that level and bring those. That's great for our commerce in the area and the ability to fill hotel rooms, sell some food, and pack a stadium. So that's big time. That's big for the city of Orlando. That's big, huge for UCF. So once again, a win-win.
Right. I'm going to talk a little bit more about the NFL, and I mean, I hope that Josh Gordon, has figured some things out. Man, I was thinking there was somebody else that came out today and got suspended. When I heard it on the radio, I should have been, because he got a 4-game suspension for taking something in reference to some vitamins or something that was, and I think he's on the D. I'm gonna have to start writing the stuff down when I'm driving in the car and I'm listening to the radio. But it came out on the news when I was watching. I mean, when I was listening to the sports. But it may have been somebody from the Rams. I don't forget. But somebody got a 4-game suspension today. So it may have been somebody from the Rams. Now, I'm going to give you a question, Vince.
All right.
Okay. Give me 4 running backs. No, well, I'm going to give you 4 running backs, right?
Okay.
And I want you to put them in your order because everybody has their order. But I'm going to give them. I'm going to give you 4, but I want you to put them in your order.
Okay.
That's Eric Dickerson, O.J. Simpson, Emmitt Smith, and Jim Brown. Eric Dickerson, O.J. Simpson, Emmitt Smith, and Jim Brown.
They're all different kind of players at different times, but you got to go with. That's tough for me to do that, but I
Yeah.
would say Jim Brown. Jim Brown is 1.
Okay.
Emmett is 2. Uh, Eric Dickerson would be 3, and who was the 4th guy?
O.J.
Yeah. Well, oh man, I may have to do that. Jim, OJ, Emmett, um, Eric Gordon.
Oh, no. There's Eric Dickerson.
Eric Dickerson. Eric Dickerson.
But see,
Because
the thing of it is, the bottom line is that you can give me any one of those guys, and it wouldn't matter.
yeah,
The only
well, it doesn't matter. Again,
right,
it's a
the only
personal
thing that's
choice.
gonna matter is your offensive line. If you got an offensive line, they're gonna do their thing. So, period.
Well, you, to me, you're basing it on what they've done already. And if
Right.
you look at where Jim Brown came along, and then OJ came along, and then Emmett came along, then Eric came along. It's kind of like they generationally as they did that because Jim Brown in his time was the best there was. And OJ was exciting and flashy and almost a slight combination of himself and Brown. And then Emmett was a next level player, strong, powerful inside outside runner, could catch and block. And then Eric was flashy. He was up and down the field. So I think you're right. It doesn't matter. It's just your personal preference. I'm an Emmitt Smith guy, but you cannot take away from what Jim Brown and O.J. Simpson did during the time that they played. They were exciting. And you could throw Barry Sanders in there. You could throw
Oh, no,
for
no, 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 no,
you know
no, 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 no.
a couple other
I'm gonna
people,
give
but
you
in
some
those
more
4
later
guys
on,
there,
Vince. I'm gonna give
but
you
I'm
some
just
more
saying
later
those
on. I
four
mean,
guys right there.
that's just the first 4. I mean, as the weeks go by, we're gonna talk about, I'm gonna give you Tony Dorsett. I'm gonna give you Barry Sanders.
Yeah.
I'm gonna
You
give you
look
those
at
guys.
what I my objection to comparing people that I hear so much is that most recently they did in the in NBA basketball they asked the rookies coming in to rate some of the best players and they got LeBron at the top of the list and stuff and what it is it comes down to if you only know what you know you that's all they've seen and that's what the things the guy was talking about is that listen, you can't you can look at them and say, oh man, you're crazy, but that's all he knows. That's the only person
Right.
he's ever seen play. So certainly his ceiling is much lower because he doesn't know anybody. Now you ask a veteran, been in the league 10, 15 years maybe, he's got a whole different list of players. You ask a fan that's been out there a long time, they come to Kareem made an interesting point about the thing about the GOAT. He said there's no such thing as a GOAT. Even Mike kind of spoke. Michael Jordan spoke. It's about where you are when you play. I certainly think that by far Mike is the best there has been, but the argument he's saying, and same thing Kareem is saying, you take an era, this guy in his era is probably he could be called quote unquote the GOAT. Um,
Well,
Kareem kind of said there
actually,
really is no GOAT, which I
right,
kind of
right. But
agree
see,
with in
I
a sense.
but see, I don't look at it that way, Vince. I mean, as when it comes to sports, period, I just don't look at it that way. I think but that's just how we are by nature. But I think for me, my conversation would always be who are among the best. It's not my conversation would never
Yeah,
be who is the best. My
I
conversation
don't think you
would
can say
be
that.
their game
Yeah,
in which they are among some of the best. And so that's
Yeah,
to me the
exactly.
conversation is because as my in my opinion, if I had to pick one player that if through all the players who've ever played this game, if I had to pick one player to start and it's just me and my understanding of the game, I would have to go with Kareem. He would be the first player that I would pick just simply because of my understanding of the game. And I just think because of who he is, his game, you have to make more adjustments for him than anybody that ever played the game. But that's just me for what my
well,
eyes
there
have
are
seen.
different arguments about that because when you look at performance on the floor, final game results, and those type of things, people come up with different scenarios and different analytics to support that. And I think it's how you want to build your team. Do you build your team from the inside out or outside in? That would also make a difference in who you select first. There's a list of players who rank really high as taking the last second shots and being very successful. That's a whole other list that most people don't even know that exists. And some of the people that are on that list. So it's hard to say one. I like your term, the best, and you can that. I personally believe that Michael is that guy based on his performance, but certainly there are others who have had great careers too. His career by far stands out, but you have to respect those guys on the floor, in my opinion, because they're all competing at a high level,
Right.
and we may not recognize, them, but these
I
guys have done great
like
stuff.
for an example, they which is so funny to me because they sit and they talk about Larry Bird and Magic Johnson. They act like
Mhm.
Doc just was sitting over there waving, hey, how y'all doing?
But that was
And it's
it
just
was
funny
different though.
because Doc was Michael before Michael was Michael, and
But
everybody
Doc,
wanted to be him.
but what they're talking about to me there is a rivalry between these two players. Doc didn't have a rival. Doc was himself against the league. There was nobody out there could do anything with what Doc was doing. When Magic and Larry had a college history, that they competed against each other in college, and then they rose to the prominence in the NBA. And fortunately, they were on teams that competed. Certainly, Julius was all of that and more, but he didn't have that's fixed rivalry. So again, when you look at that, you have to factor that in. What makes Larry and Magic so interesting is their history, and they competed, and then the teams made championships, and they were in championships against each other, and so on. So great story. I mean, 100%. I love that story. But then you have You have Julius who transited from one league to another league and competed as a, so what I love about sport is that we sometimes miss is that the richness of sport and the human stories that take place. Instead of in my opinion, we want those compete rather than let those stories be what they are and tell the story that they're really telling. Why does it have to be one over the other? Magic and Bird, great rivalry, great two guys that competed, but then you got a Magic Johnson, I mean Julius Erving, you got a Kareem, you got a Wilt Chamberlain, you got a Bill Russell. Those are all great human stories that are related to the game of sport. And in their case, probably basketball. But you got some great football stories. You got some great baseball stories. The athlete. The point that I'm trying to make is the athlete is a human being. He is an athlete. He's a very elite athlete, but he's a human being, and he's overcoming day-to-day struggles that a lot of us have, and go to work
Hmm.
just like I do, or the next guy. So I think we are fascinated by it. I'm one of those too. But the story that I look at is the human story. This guy and his effort to be the best that he can be, and what did he have to go through? Because they got families, they got kids, and I've talked to a couple of these guys. Their kids were raised by their mother. They were gone all the time. That's coaches, that's referees, that's basketball players, football players, and they still got to worry about that kid's bad grade or that great grade he had or that presentation that he can't make because he's out of town. We forget that human story. He's just an athlete. No, he's more than he's still a human being. So to me, I'm celebrating those accomplishments that they have because they are great accomplishments, and then sometimes they're overlooked just simply because he or she is a professional, but they're still a mother, a wife, a husband, a dad, brother or sister or whatever.
I'm gonna change direction because it just popped in my mind, and I had actually forgot to put it in my notes. Well, you know what? I think I did put it in my notes. Let me see. Did I put it in my notes? Yes. Oh, yes, I did. I did put it in my notes. Did you see the Brittany Griner situation? Did you see that?
Yeah.
Well,
Well,
the reason why I'm laughing is because I've heard they were talking to a couple of the female players who played in the WNBA, and I don't forgot the girl who Brittany was fighting, but the point that the announcer was trying to say about the girl, that she got to stand her ground. She said, "No, you you cannot be running away. Your teammates got your back. Da, da, da. You got to stand, and whether you agree or disagree." But that's why I was laughing, because that was the conversation that was going back and forth on a couple of the shows about, and they were asking them. Well, they were addressing Brittany in the sense of how they always say, they kind of get physical, and that's part of the game in the sense I mean, they beat up on Kareem, they beat up on Shaq, they beat up on Hakeem, they beat, that's the game. But the whole thing of saying, well, you got to try to protect the player and da da da, which is part of it too. But she just has to learn to control, her temper, because she's hurting herself, and yet her comment is about she's not getting paid enough money. So I guess her real money that she's making is that she's playing overseas.
yeah, well, yeah, she she does play overseas. I mean, it comes down to the integrity of the game. It's still whether it's men's ball or women's ball. You really want to limit that kind of activity because it does leave a scar on the sport. At the same time, I do understand protecting yourself when you think you need to protect when you do that. And I can't always determine what when that's necessary, whenever you feel the need to do that. But I do think there's a time and place for that and how far you take that. And she's had some anger issues before.
Right.
She's been upset about several different things, and I think it's just a spillover. This is more about her than it is about the game. It's one of those personal issues that I think is maybe running out. Maybe she's unable to control it, And in the slightest thing, now listen to what I'm saying. It sounds familiar, doesn't it? The lightest ticker kicks this thing off, and boom, she explodes. So she may be dealing with some other issues that are not centered in basketball, but basketball is where she is, and this is where she explodes. So it appears as though she's upset about uh, uh, um, that call or that push, but it could be a whole litany of other things, and this is just a tipping point because she's exploded before. She's been an angry player ever since she was in college. I mean, it worked for her, and she played. She's been aggressive. She's always played with a chip on her shoulder, and I don't know why she feels that. I mean, whatever motivates her, it could be her motivating factor. So, but I'm saying when you start looking at it on a consistent basis, to me, you start saying there might be a little bit more here to that than what we see.
When you, it's funny because when you, speaking of spoil and, whatever it is, immediately popped in my mind was Antonio Brown. Kind of made reference to him last week, and I always talk about these guys nowadays is it just put a sour taste in your mouth with the attitudes and whatever that's about, that he handle things the way that he does, and it's just kind of crazy. But I'll
Well,
say
Tom Brady
this.
also had Tom Brady had the same objection, but you didn't get that much press about that. He objected also. He had an issue with, but nobody said anything about that. Now, is it purely based on the fact of the way he presented it, or is it the fact of who it is? So, I mean, that's the issue that comes in because these guys get labeled so quickly, and we forget they're human beings, and that the way he said it may be a negative as opposed to what he's actually saying. He's talking about his safety, his longevity, and he has a right to be concerned. Now, I think what we're objecting to, or I'm objecting to, is the manner in which you did that. The situation, for instance, the narrative that took place around the way LeBron acted at his son's basketball game. I thought that was wrong. I thought that was not appropriate to be there, but he's still a dad. That is still his son, and maybe he just got overzealous, and I don't know. I just don't think it's appropriate for an NBA ball game, and especially a prominent player like that. But he's still human, and
Right.
sometimes we erase that human factor because they're a celebrity or a high profile person. I didn't. I think Antonio brings a good point. I just thought the way he presented it, and for me, was a little, little off the cuff, if you would. I mean, he made a good point. He wasn't the only person that felt that way, but he's the benchmark of what we're talking about in the way in which he presented it.
Yeah. Man, there's so much to talk about. Eric Reed called out Jay Z. What you think about that?
Again, this is an opinion, um, and the question I asked, what was Jay Z's purpose? What was accomplished? Was he minimizing the effort? Was he maximizing an effort for his personal gain? What was his motive? And I think that's what Eric is saying. I don't see where what he did helps the situation. Where Jay Z sat down and felt like he was making an impact. I think it's to be judged, or in the sense of when I don't mean wrong choice of word, not to be judged, but it needs to be evaluated for the outcome that it presents. What was his effort? What was he trying to accomplish?
Right.
And so I think you have to go back and say, okay, Jay Z. And my thing is always, was it personal, or are you looking for personal gain, or are you really trying to make a difference and trying to open some eyes and change some narratives and opinions? Um, that remains to be seen, I think. I mean, I'm not sure myself what his purpose. I'm trying to figure out what's your end game on that.
Okay. I'm going to
Is
ask you to
what
do
I
something for us here on the show, and starting now because I didn't go in depth into this, but I'm asking you if you can follow this. What's the deal with the Nike and what's going on with Nike, them in the news about whatever that is involving money.
Yeah, I've been watching that. They have said, and where they're currently at now, they tried to Michael Avenatti,
Right.
who they
Yeah.
later
Yeah.
indicted, and all of that. He had called this out quite some time ago, and what he is saying is, and what many people already know, is that there's been some money changing hands, and what he was his point, what where they are, excuse me, where they are right now, he has presented. They've researched to find that there was a mechanism set up to make payments. And that's what they're trying to, did it actually happen is the bottom line. The
Right.
last thing I read, they were able to identify, and per what he was saying, because they tried to discredit him, and he still won't let it go. Despite all of that, he's come back, and he had stated before that there were some people's name that he called and said, "Go back and check this, and see if I'm not telling the truth." And all these other allegations come up. But what Nike is now doing, as I read just I think it was just 2 days ago, they have found that some of the allegations. Yeah, we see where this could have taken place. It was set up to do that. Did you do it? Is the question. Like they saw where it was in line for Zion, who went to Duke to get some money. But what they
Right.
cannot say or have not said that he actually got it. Not only him, a couple other players. So to some degree, he's creditable in that what he's saying, but it still have not come to. It hasn't been proven that money actually changed hands. And I will continue to follow that because I'm very interested in how they're going to deal with that.
Right.
Because if you determine that it has happened, what will be done about it? Are you going
Yeah.
back on this thing, or certainly going forward? I can see some changes, but what about what has happened? And most recently, this group of players, which Zion was one of them, and what has happened there? What are you going to do about that, and how will that be addressed? So it's interesting, and I thought it was interesting on his behalf that he wouldn't let it go because
Mm-hmm.
they truly did a great job of discrediting him. They really ripped him apart and put him in because he was wanting to run for president. He was after the president over there, Stormy Daniels, and he had some good stuff. But as soon as he put that out there, whoa, his train came to a halt and got off the track. But
Yeah.
he won't let it go, and he said repeatedly, "I'm telling the truth." And they've been able to support some of his findings or some of his narrative. They've been able to support that it did happen. Not the money change, but the mechanism was set up to do that. That is true.
Okay. Well, I'm Charles Morris. This is the original Coach Carter, and we're here every Wednesday at 11 p.m. at Youth Central Sports. As Coach Carter would say, sports is more than just
More
a
than just
game.
a game.
Yeah, we cover quite a bit of different things here at Youth Central Sports. We'd love to hear from you. You can always check us out here at Youth Central Sports, also Youth Central Sports. I'm sorry, Youth Central Connection as well. We're here on Twitter. We're on Periscope. We're on Facebook, YouTube. So make sure that you hit the like button on YouTube, the like button on Facebook. Subscribe to us on the YouTube channel. We would appreciate that. And I would like, let me see if I can find it here. Here it is right here. You can follow the original Coach Carter. It's Vince L. Carter at Twitter.com, where he usually put out some very good, inspirational uh, comments every day. Every morning
Yeah,
you will wake up to something that says like, "Oh,
yeah,
wow, that's pretty good." Questions,
yeah.
comment. You can hit us
Attempt
both up on.
to put a positive light in everybody's life, something we can all reach out. They're inspirational to me as well, and sometimes that's why they're selected. I relate to them so well and find them necessary for myself at that particular day, time, or whatever. And then talking out loud, we get a chance to speak out and let you
Right,
kind of hear
right,
my
right,
thoughts.
right. And you can,
So,
yeah, and then you can always email us here at youthcentralsports@gmail.com. I would love to hear from you, questions, comments, or concern. And even so, even you can text us any questions or comments or any comments
yes,
here as well, right here at Youth Central Sports. Coach, I got a I got a little something different for you. I mean, we're going to get back to our. I got a few more things, but I got another question for you.
Hmm.
Give me, and now I'm going to have you think. Now you're going to have to think about this. Okay. Give me three of your all-time great one-two punch running back, fullback in the NFL. Give me three of them. One-two punch.
Um, Lenny Moore and I can't remember the guy that ran in front of him. Um, I thought they were a good one. Kick and Zonkum
Okay.
for were were good. And then Jim Brown and I can't remember his fullback name right now.
Okay. Well, hold on a second. Hold on. I went and I Googled just for it. So what I like to do is they this person listed the top 50, and I think it was based on stats. Okay, so I'm going to
Okay.
quickly we're going to go through the first half this week, then we'll finish up the second half next week. But this is the at the 50 mark. Do you see that?
No, I don't see it.
Are you not able to see the names?
Wait a minute. Wait a minute. Let me see here.
There's Brandon
Okay.
Jacobs and Ahmad Bradshaw with the Giants.
Okay.
Okay, are you able to see that one?
Yeah.
Okay.
They're way down the list. So yeah, I cannot. Yeah. Okay. Chicago
No,
Cardinals. The
well,
Chicago
it's
Cardinals. You know how far back that
right,
is? That's
right,
1954, 57. So
right.
okay, I can appreciate that.
Yeah. And so here, as we go down the list, here at number 48, right?
Yeah,
And
you're
then
hitting
we
the
have
2000. Lamont Jordan. I remember a little bit of Lamont.
and now here's somebody that you would recognize.
Yeah, Herschel Wong and Tony Dorsett. I would not have thought that'd have been. I do remember that combination. Uh, but yeah, they were. That was a heck of a year. That yeah, I would have to say that.
Right. And then here you go here. Fred Taylor,
Who is?
James Stewart. And here
Don't remember them as much.
right, here's number Neil Anderson. That was in 88 from until 1992.
Yeah, don't don't remember them that well either. I
Okay.
mean, I wasn't a big fan of theirs.
Well,
Uh,
here's somebody you probably remember because of the rivalry,
who is this? Let me see.
right?
Yeah, Tiki Barber. Yeah, I definitely remember that.
All right.
Ricky
What about
Waters, Ollie Garner. I definitely remember. I remember Ricky Waters for sure.
right? Oh yeah. Do you do you know that he moved here? I mean, last
Yes.
yeah. Because you know he moved to our
Saw him at a
Orlando.
at a football camp for Doug Gabriel. He was out there. He came out and did a little chit chat with the players and went through a couple of drills. First time I had a chance to see him.
All right. There's Ravens from 2002 to 2005, and now here's somebody that I know that you
Now
would recognize.
that was a biggie there. Gil Sayers and Brian Piccolo. I would have thought
Yeah,
they'd have
yeah,
been higher. They if you look at so it's got to be based on stats because boy
right.
they were a hell of a tandem.
All right.
Sam Cunningham,
Sam the
man,
Bam
oh Sam the
Cunningham.
man,
Remember him?
yeah, I do remember Sam. I don't
Okay,
remember Don Calhoun as much. Archie Griffin, Pete, yeah, I remember Archie
right,
Griffin.
right. And remember Pete Johnson because Pete Johnson was a big guy. Remember him?
Yeah, I yeah, not as much. I don't remember as much.
Oh, actually, hold on. I'm sorry. Let me see. I messed that one up here. Let me go here. Uh,
Reggie Bush, yeah, Duke McAllister. I remember both of those guys. Yeah, I do remember those guys.
Or
Don Perkins and Dan Reeves.
oh man, that's going back to 65 and
Yeah,
68.
that's way, way back,
I
especially
mean,
Don
man,
Perkins.
that's some of the original Cowboys right
Yeah,
there.
that's going back a ways. Uh, don't remember them.
19 that's 62 to 64. Yeah, that's
I don't remember them. And yeah, Johnny Hector. I'm not too familiar with them either.
okay. What about here?
Yeah, now I'm a little bit. Yeah, Ricky Williams. I definitely remember Ricky. Ronnie Brown, I didn't remember as much, but Ricky, yeah. How could you not remember Ricky? Yeah, a young man, a very interesting talent.
Right.
Um, Crazy young man. Peterson, yes. Yeah, it's interesting. I don't remember. I remember some of like for instance Peterson. Taylor, I don't remember as well. Yet
Right.
there were 1,500 yards rushing. That's pretty good. Uh,
Here's a name you haven't heard in a long time right here, Vince. Floyd Little.
oh yeah, Floyd Little. Yeah, man, Floyd Little was quite a player. He was quite a player.
Okay.
Yeah, he mastered. Larry Johnson. Uh, yeah, I remember Larry from Kansas City. Yeah,
Right.
Priest Holmes. I've heard that name.
Right.
Roger Craig. Yeah, from the four. Yeah, oh yeah, yeah. I remember Roger.
Uh-huh. Right, definitely, right?
Wendell Tyler. I don't remember as much, but I definitely remember Roger. Is that
Okay.
Jim Nance? Yeah, Jim Nance, and I remember Jim Nance.
This is from 85 to 98. Ernest Biner.
Mhm. And not as well. I do remember that name a little bit, but I'm not that familiar with Ernest Bynum.
You don't remember when what was the quarterback that played for Cleveland? Sipes. Remember him
Yeah, a little bit,
when
yeah.
when they lost that heartbreak game? I think the running back fumble at the goal line.
Yeah,
Brian Sipes, I
these
think that
guys.
was his name. Then
Yeah,
that's
yeah.
yeah, that's the first half right there. That's the
Okay.
first half, and we will finish up the next half next week. Yeah, going way back, and
Yeah, that's going back a ways. That's back further than I would want to go, but that is definitely to be able to say that I remember some of those. I
but
hate to say it, but I do.
and actually, Vince, what made me think of it is because we grew up watching the running back fullback, and it's not like that anymore in the sense of the game that we were accustomed to watching when you always had that fullback. But the game has evolved into something a little different now.
Well, yeah, it's still there, but it's
Right.
just not
Mm-hmm.
that fullback does a lot of different things. But it depends upon the system too. What
Right.
exactly are you looking at? Because most of your fullbacks today, they were still blockers and short yardage carriers, if you will. But some of these guys can run outside. They're actually throwing on the ball more, depending upon the offense. So yeah, it's changed a little bit. It definitely has changed. But that's inevitable, I guess, yeah, because they get
Did
bigger
you
and faster.
Right? Did you see where the XFL came out today with their teams? They're 8 teams. They have 8 teams now.
Yeah, well, let's just see if they can stay in business throughout the season.
They have the
They
New York Guardians, the Seattle Dragons, the Tampa Bay Vipers, the Los Angeles Wildcats, the Houston Roughnecks, the St. Louis Battlehawks, the DC Defenders, and the Dallas Renegades. Are you ready for some
The problem they're
football?
going to have, yeah, the thing I think you look at the bottom line for them is, are you going to be able to sustain that? Because look at this spread apart. That's a lot of travel. That's a lot of hotel lodging, and then you got to play the games. And I don't know if they're going to be able to attract enough people to get their
Okay.
money back. But hopefully they do that because the more opportunities I think you have for these young athletes to participate, the better. Just like
Well,
they do in the youth, they got a lot of youth markets for those kids to play, and I think this is another example.
Okay, well, we're starting a new segment on Youth Central Sports right now, and it's all on you, Vince. It's all on you. From this time forward to the end of the football season, guess what this segment is called? Guess what it's called?
She about she out about them Cowboys.
Mamas, don't let your babies grow up to be cowboys. How about them cowboys?
That's what I'm talking about. That's what I'm talking about. How
So
about them
you're gonna
Cowboys?
have to give us updates every week now on the Cowboys. What's the deal on the contract? How they looking? What's expected? Cause how about them Cowboys?
Well, at this particular time, they're still trying to resolve the Zeke Elliott situation. They don't. I haven't heard anything lately on what that looks like. Dak has still said he wants 40 million, not 30 million. That's up for grabs. And Amari Cooper is doing what he needs to do. So the Cowboys are not doing, and they look pretty good the other night. Looking at the players they have. So the biggest issue for the Cowboys right now is solving the Zeke Elliott issue. That's the biggest thing on the table. Everything else right now takes a second step, even that because he's not in camp. That's what makes it more important. If he was in camp, then we just roll along with it and we'll work it out. But he's not in camp, and contrary to what Jerry said, Zeke who, and he came back and apologized because that was a very stupid thing to do.
Oh,
That's
did he?
disrespect as an employer to an employee, and that's something we forget because he's owner, but you're still employee. And here's one of your top performers, and you because you had one guy that went out one weekend and had a good showing. You would say that against a Hall of Fame, a potential Hall of Famer, All-Star player, and your top running back, and you would say that. How foolish is that to do that? I mean, that's just so stupid.
That's
And
well,
he's one of the
that's
greatest disappointments
that's the
for the
arrogance,
Cowboys, in
man.
my opinion.
That's the
He's one of
arrogance.
the greatest disappointments that the Cowboys have ever had. It's not our win-loss record. It's having an idiot for an owner. For an owner,
Well, yeah.
that's been our biggest problem.
All right. Well, every week we got a segment called "How about them Cowboys?" Alrighty then. Okay. All right.
We'll keep it up. I think it's interesting to note that in the NBA that the Clippers have come to an agreement to hire Ty Lue as an assistant coach, and I really, really, really don't understand that. I think the young man deserves the opportunity to coach. I'm 100% behind that. I just don't see, unless they're setting Doc up for somewhere down the line to leave and turn it over to him. I don't see why they put him on the staff. But it'll be interesting to see. He's a good coach. He brings some good stuff to the table. Anytime you over there with Doc and that, and they got a heck of an organization. Interested to see about that. I'm really a little confused on that one, but we'll wait and see how it plays out.
Did they
Wait and see.
did they sell the Brooklyn Nets? Because I know the billionaire would used to be the.
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah.
was
Well,
he
there's
like
a
a
guy from
Russian
Russia.
guy?
That, yeah, he sold
Wasn't
it.
he
This
like a
guy just
Russian guy that owned it?
he was,
That's a billionaire. That now that
and
another
he
billionaire
sold the
bought him.
team. Correct. Yeah, that's exactly right. He just bought him just recently, and that's a huge. That's a lot of money. 2.85 billion, I think, is what he paid, and to take control of the team. It's probably better because I think the Russian guy might have been losing interest, although they made a couple of insignificant moves. I think he may have been losing interest in the idea. So this guy's coming, he's fresh, he's excited. I'll see what he does. I also see where the Mavericks signed J.J. Barrett back for a
Right,
year, getting ready for go to the training camp, which I thought was interesting that he
right.
would be back. It's
I
interesting
got
too that they're saying that there's some conversation out there about Zion being winning rookie of the year, which I don't believe he will, but I'm sure people will probably say I've lost my mind, but I don't think he'll win rookie of the year. But nevertheless, they think that Cam Reddish will have a much better career
right,
than
right,
than Zion. And that means he's eclipsing not only Zion, he's talking about R.J. Barrett as well, which I think
right,
is very possible because Reddish shoots the ball very well. He is a dookie, but he does shoot the ball really, really well. And I really think his game is. I really believe he's more suited for the NBA than either of the other two at this point. Now, will they become better ball players? No doubt about that. especially Zion has a lot to learn. So does JJ. I mean RJ. But Cam is closer because of the shoot game. The boy shoots the ball extremely well. So that's interesting. And looking at the what is the USA team, they're going through some changes over there. But I really think they're gonna. I've watched them play. They're not as hampered as people say they are. They don't have marquee name players. I do think that's great for marketing. That's great for attendance at the game, but they played some good basketball. Now they
Right.
do have an uphill battle. Coach said that. Uh, uh, Popovich mentioned that. I mean that's reality, but they play pretty good.
Right.
I don't feel sorry for them. I really don't. I think they're going to compete.
Right. Yeah, they were on my list with asking you about cousin ACL tear and
Concerned about
chance that
Cousins.
Dwight trying to go to the Lakers.
I Now I've heard so much conversation about that. So my personal opinion is I wouldn't touch Dwight, but you know he was there. It didn't go well. I don't think he's ready to play. He says he is. They don't like Joakim Noah. They don't think that he's manned up. And there's one other guy in there. We can't think of his name at the moment that they're looking at. So I'm not big on Dwight going there. But Dwight does need another. He's got to raise his game or he's done. In my opinion. He's really got because he was out there. He didn't take full advantage of it. I didn't think so. The Grizzlies have granted permission for the Lakers to talk to him
Right.
because I'm sure they want to dump him anyway. They don't want him with what they got. They got too much. They don't really need him. If they could dump him up there and they could take him, that would be fine. He could come back and be the player, be a better player. I just personally don't believe in him. I don't think he can get back. But that's just my personal opinion. So it'll be interesting to see how that takes place. I'm I'm curious. I mean, because they're in trouble, and I feel sorry for Cousins because at some point in time, I don't realize he's a young guy, but some significant injuries. There's going to be a point, and It's obviously going to shorten his career.
Do
And I just don't know how much more can he take.
Do you think he has a weight issue, Vince? Do you think he has a weight issue? Because
It
he's a
might
big
be.
guy.
He was never when he was playing in New Orleans. He was a big guy, but I didn't think he had a weight issue. Now the problem could be now because he was off. He never really got back into full playing condition, and now he's in the off season. That's what he was doing at the time when this injury occurred. I I don't think weight was an issue per se. Is he a big guy? Yes, well, he's a heck of a big guy. But I don't really think weight was it because I thought he's in reasonably good shape for a man of his size.
Right.
He wasn't carrying that extra weight. He's just a big guy. But
Right.
it has to do with still has to do with wear and tear on the body and the style of play that he has that I think that made him. I mean, it's just so unfortunate with the injury, and they're happening back to back to back,
Right. Yeah.
and that's not good on the body. So my fan cross my fingers that he'll have an opportunity to recover and get back. But his recovery time is going to be a while.
Wow. Yeah. And I just actually kind of heard about it accidentally because I didn't even know it had happened. I kind of heard something, but I wasn't really paying attention a couple of days ago, and then I just heard just I wasn't really paying attention, and then somebody said something. I was, on one of the sports channels, and then that's like, oh my goodness, oh, not again. So I was kind of looking forward to see how that whole Laker thing and how they were going to gel together and see if that thing was going to work. But wow,
Well, I was excited. I was excited for him because I thought he was playing really good ball when he got hurt. And I thought when he came back and played with the Warriors, he had played. He looked impressive until he had his quad um, injury. So I was hoping that he would come out and do well because I kind of like him. I like the way he plays. I like the game he plays. I liked his personality, the way he addressed himself. So I was really, really kind of a fan. And so I'm very disappointed that it's not working out for him, at least not at this point. So it's going to be interesting to see an organization, in my opinion, that's still spiraling. How they going to fix this? Because I think they had the pieces that they had. They were comfortable with the pieces, and there was some light at the tunnel. Now you've thrown a big wrench in there because Boogie was a big part of what they wanted to do.
Right. Well, let me see. We covered Josh Garden. We covered the XFL. We covered Brittany Griner. We covered college football. Before we leave, have you been watching any of the Little League World Series?
I saw just a little bit the other day. Um, I had not seen a lot of it, but just what I saw the other day was interesting. The guy was a good pitching battle, and so I only had about 15 minutes of it that I actually watched. I actually forgot it was even taking place. To be honest with you,
Oh,
I
yeah,
really
man.
lost track of that.
When I was working for Orange County, I can remember when Apopka went to
Yes,
the championship.
I do
Remember that?
remember that.
Yeah,
I do
yeah,
remember
that was a
that.
big thing for them, you know.
It was huge. It was huge. It was great, great, and it was so great. Again, that's a great human story. These kids coming from all over the country and making that, and then to have a group right out of Florida to do that which was kind of close to home, which made
Right.
it really, really interesting overall. So, um, hopefully, I get a chance to watch a little bit more. But I'm so caught up now in football and basketball that I'm gonna have to peep over there every now and then to see what's going on.
Okay, well, you can join us here every Wednesday. We look forward to questions and comments and concerns. And again, you can follow the original Coach Carter on Twitter. Let me see if I can find your Twitter, your handle. That would be Vincent L. Carter. Uh, that's his handle on Twitter. You can follow him, and he puts out a lot of motivational, inspirational
Yeah. You
speaking.
don't find a lot of nonsense on that because I'm trying to. Everybody's got their opportunity, and my opportunity is to try to make us feel better, give us encouragement to fight the battle, whatever that battle is in front of you. That's my philosophy, and I'm trying to. When you hear from me, it's just that little nudge to keep going, keep making a difference, be a difference maker, enjoy your life, get the most out of it. That's all I'm trying to say. Now, fight whatever battles you got to fight. I just want to encourage you to be diligent about your fight. So I'm clean, if you will.
You want to hear something funny, Vince?
Was that?
Up on my YouTube feed today, because you know how they just feed you stuff
Mm-hmm.
on my YouTube, and Vince McDonald slam dunk contest came up on my feed today, and
Mm.
it was kind of cute to watch because I'm looking at him and he's he he's 18, just coming out of mainland, have not gone to, haven't started at North Carolina yet, and so they were
Mm.
showing the highlights from the McDonald,
You're right.
and I didn't know that he had entered the 3-point shooting contest, so they showed that too. So,
Mm-hmm.
but yeah, I mean, just it just came up on my feed, so I was like, oh, okay, and of course, he looked like
I,
he's like 16 years old.
yeah, he looked young at that time. I tell you what, when it's all over and done, the numbers will surprise you. There's some categories that he has performed in. I know Gilbert Arenas mentioned that he thought that he should have been in an office or on a bench somewhere, and that he, instead of out there taking up a spot on the floor, and then he turned right around and said that he thought that Carmelo Anthony should be on somebody's team. So I said, well, you went from crazy to insane. So whatever. I mean, and again, it's all an opinion. It's all
Right.
about an opinion, and I respect his opinion. Uh, while I don't necessarily agree with it, but I respect his opinion because his career
And it's
got blown up. His own career got blown up because of some stupidness that he did.
right,
You
and
can't.
then
I mean,
in act.
and you got
No,
to
no,
look at
no.
it like this too. Now, if a guy's out there playing and he's getting a job, you can't say he's taking up somebody's space when people hire him. If they thought that, then you could be like Jeremy Lin. Jeremy Lin's gonna end up playing for a Chinese team overseas somewhere because nobody want. He's unable to get a contract. So I think it's a bit, and I'm taking this from a standpoint of anytime you see a player out there, he puts his name in the hat and somebody takes him, then he's not. not taking up a roster spot. He's filling a roster spot. I
Right.
think that's the difference. And should he leave? Well, that's a
Well,
personal decision. I mean,
but
is he productive? Is he getting done what the team wanted him to do? Then he's productive. He may not be 20 point, like he was, and nobody expects that.
right.
But if he's
But
satisfied with what the team wants him to do, then I look at a Gilbert Arenas and say, I appreciate your opinion, but okay, that's how you feel about it. So
But Vince, you and I both know that when it comes to professional sports, they don't play favoritism in that manner. And then,
not
and
dollars and
then,
cents.
see, when you get those kind of favors, in a sense, in a sense, they, and just talking in general, that they may have you on the team, but you don't play.
Yeah.
But if they're
Well,
playing
yeah.
you, I mean,
Yeah.
that's a total different thing. But when you're
Well,
getting playing time, come on.
and you have to understand why you're there, and that's probably been the Carmelo Anthony problem. Is he
Right.
want to go in, he want to get starter minutes. You're not going to get that. You want to be the first option. That's not going to happen. You're not the leader in the locker room. You're not. You're a drama queen. So, and then you cost me all that money. And now, if he would settle in and say, "Well, look, I'm willing to do this. I'm willing to do that," I think people would take a chance on him. But you're not a starter. You're not going to get, they're going, everybody's going, they put you on you to be able to provide leadership and that kind of, that type of situation to the team. And that's not what he wants to do. Now, I've heard him say differently,
Right.
but I don't, and that's just recently that he started saying it because he wants to get us a job. And Gilbert Arenas is saying, well, I think he should be in, and maybe he should, but who wants him? What's he
Right.
going to bring
And
onto the table? That's the bottom line.
and
So
it's
to your
funny
point,
because, yeah, and it's funny because I just happened to stumble across him. Talking about arenas, I don't know, something else came up in my feed again,
hmm
and knowing what a great shooter he was, or a scorer, and so when they said, because I didn't remember him, I only knew of him once he was in the pros. But then when they said that he played for Arizona, and he played in the Final Four for the championship, I went and looked that game up, and I'd be like, oh, there he is. So, now that I went and I saw the game, now I remember the game, but I didn't necessarily remember him when he was in college, because he came. I mean, he become such a prolific scorer, once he got there. And now I'm looking back, and I just didn't know who he was in college.
well, and he had a briefly his NBA career was pretty good.
Right?
But he made some
Yeah.
choices. He didn't. He got himself into some situation he couldn't get
Right.
himself out. Just the game just went down. He just wasn't able. He wasn't
Right.
marketable anymore, if you would. So it happens. I mean, and again, everybody's entitled to their own position, their own opinion because I give mine. And I look at from my position what I feel, and I have a great appreciation for what he's saying, um, and I respect that. I just don't agree with it, and especially when it comes to Carmelo Anthony, I just don't see Anthony. The
Well,
changes he needs to make is
Carmelo
late,
Anthony has been his own downfall, Vince. I mean,
very
you and
much
I
so.
both
Well,
know that.
Arenas has been his own downfall,
Well, yeah, yeah. I mean, for him to
and
do all the stupid stuff that he did,
yeah, and
I
then you
mean, he
want to talk
threw. I mean,
about
he just threw his stuff away, man. That was
right
just
out the window.
stupid.
Now you
It.
look at there was a conversation about, and he was one of the ones that felt that they should have honorarily put um, Carmelo on the USA team. And the question I asked was why?
Right.
What does he bring to the team that's going to help them win? He doesn't play
Right.
the defense. He's not going to get started minutes, and they're going to be poison in the locker room.
Right.
So why would you do that when you're competing internationally? He's a knucklehead in a
Right.
sense.
And
So
then Popovich don't.
you
I
know
mean, he's not that kind of coach anyway, because he. I mean, he's
no
not going to deal with that kind of nonsense in the first place.
no Pop, you don't want to piss Pop. It could go down here real quick. And plus you got 4 or 5, you got about 6 7 coaches over there. They're all are very experienced coaches. So it's not the right situation. Do I want to see Anthony do well? I do. I think off the court he's doing some really good stuff. I think if he had make that adjustment on the court, he'd have some time to play. But I don't know if people believe him now.
Yeah, because
I don't
even for
think they believe
myself, Vince, I saw the interview that he did on ESPN, and for myself, I'd be like, it'll be great that if he could really mature and step into a locker room and reach that level of understanding. This is what I need to do in order to play and contribute, versus thinking that I'm 23 years old. So I'm hoping somebody give him a shot, because I want to see for myself. Is it just talk, or is it you know is he
Well, is one person's opinion, and I strictly offer this only as my opinion, as I perceive it. I don't think it'll work. I think
okay?
he's done. But now, in a sense, one part of me, from the human side of it, hopes that he has some success. The other side of me, from the basketball side, says I don't think he can do it.
All right. Well,
So if he proves me wrong, I'm excited. I can't, that's a win-win for me.
okay.
But I'm just saying we're talking about opinions, and my opinion is he's not he's a risk. I think Dwight Howard is a risk.
Right.
I'd go with Joakim Noah first before I would go with Dwight. And
Well,
Kim has underperformed in my opinion, but
yeah,
he's had some head cases situations also. But
yeah,
his
but
game could fit the LA style of ball that I think they want to play.
if his
He could
knees
do that.
hold up, if his knees
Yeah,
hold up,
yeah, because
right? Yeah.
that's part of his issue. Got this guy Cantor. I think it was another person that they looked at as a possibility of going out there. So we'll see how it plays out. It'll be interesting.
Okay. All right. Well, that's going to do it for us here on a Wednesday, um, where we come to you right here at Youth Central Sports. The original Coach Carter, Charles Morris, happy to be here with you. And Coach, let me see, what is it? We're still in August, right? So
Yeah.
you still got some time to enjoy the weather before the snow comes. So,
Yeah,
uh,
we have had some. We're starting to have cooler mornings. It's still been hot. I mean, throughout the day we're still up in those 90s, but we're starting to have that 69 start. Talking to some of the farmers who have been in this area for a long period of time, and they have their mechanisms for determining what the weather will be like. One of the things they were telling me about fog in the morning in the month of August. I don't know, it could be a wives' tale as far as I know, but they're saying if you can see fog in August, you're going to have a snowy winter. But I've seen fog for the last few days, so I don't know what that means. I understand we're going to cool down earlier than we have in the past. At least that's what they're saying. So we'll see. We could be getting a huge change in temperatures very soon. Well, in September. We're not going to get it in
oh,
August, that's for sure. We're going to be smoking here in August.
oh, okay. Well, we will see. Well, we're gonna.
We will. I'm
Uh,
looking forward to it.
well, with that being said, again, I'm Charles Morris with the original Coach Carter, and thank you for hanging out with us. And enjoy the rest of your week, and you be blessed.
Be blessed.